Good morning. Can you hear
Good
me?
morning, sir.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, thanks. Uh, uh, hmm, can you do me a favor, some of you? Uh, do you know my phone number?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you my phone number. Excuse me, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'll tell you my phone number. Please message me your phone numbers with your names. Okay. Um, for no other reason, I'm not going to misuse those names. I have something to share which I don't want to do it on a public forum. So that's the reason why I'm asking you for that. Is that okay with you? Apparently not. Uh, so it's not okay with you people sharing your phone number. Okay, then we'll leave it at that. All right.
Hello, sir. Good morning. I just
Good morning.
connected to my audio. Can you just repeat what you have said?
I said I have something to share with you, which I don't want to do it on this public uh, platform. So if you send me a phone number with your name, then I will basically send back a message to you. It's nothing shady. Please don't worry about those things. So if you don't have an objection, would you like to share your phone number?
Yes, sir. On WhatsApp, can we do it?
Yes. Do you know my phone number?
Yes, sir. It is there in our official group, right? We'll
Yeah.
take it from there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. I'll be grateful if some of you do send me, those of you who are regular, if you do send me your phone numbers.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we'll commence the proceedings. We are studying the Milesian school, and in the Milesian school we have already done Thales, but since we've had a gap of 2 days, I shall quickly run through in a minute the philosophy of Thales. I told you that he is usually referred to as the first Greek philosopher, and he's uh, he's also the first person documented documented first person to have questioned mythological explanations of natural phenomena, and he attempted to give an explanation of the universe uh, in a language which would be naturalist, which means that he would not take recourse to categories which are supernatural. And when we talk about categories which are supernatural, we are basically talking about God and the entire mythology of Prometheus bringing fire from heaven to earth. So you see all those things he wanted to debunk. But I also told you that he was looking at a causal kind of an explanation, which in effect means that you have a cause effect sequencing. And I told you the problem associated with the cause effect sequencing is that you have the problem of infinite regress. Okay, so Thales, therefore, when he tried to give an explanation of the world through cause effect sequencing, he decided that the best way in which one can possibly break the infinite regress that we have with cause effect sequencing, where every cause is a cause and an effect at the same time, and where every effect is an effect and a cause again. So, to break that, he started with the whole thing about the primary substance that led to the creation of the world. And being close to the Ionian Sea, I told you that he thought that the earth was in water, and he believed that the primary substance that led to the creation of the universe is water. That's what he believed. Okay, and I told you that whether he intended it or not, there is a great deal of there is some truth in that thing of he thought everything began with water, but everything didn't begin with water. We know that. But we do know today that life originated in water. So that is the reason why people will always study Thales. Okay, that's the reason why people will always study Thales, because he has a certain importance, uh, which is uh, because of his involvement. I mean, sorry, because of his idea that everything emerged out of water. Now, the second thinker whom we were talking about, and who is infinitely more advanced and fascinating, is Anaximander. Um, Anaximander is somebody who simply said that there is no primary substance. Okay, and I told you that he also talks about uh, what we call the uh, earth or the world coming into being due to the combination of opposites, right? This is what he said. This I had told you about this. I gave you what the opposites were: wet, dry, okay, then soft, hard, and hot, cold. We can go on. Okay. So, especially if you take the hot and cold thing, uh, heat moves into the cold and cold moves into the heat. Same thing with wetness and dryness. Dryness moves into wetness, and uh, wetness moves into dryness. And so he said the earth was created out of the coming together of opposite categories, right? And so he described the earth as a cylinder spinning on its own axis, and this for him led to the I mean, this spinning on its own axis led to day and night, as well as another thing that he said is that the earth is not resting anywhere, but due to the centrifugal. This has been added later by someone. I don't think he actually used this word, but he definitely implied it, and therefore I am using that expression. There is a definite indication of his idea of a centrifugal force. Okay, and this centrifugal force was keeping it uh, suspended in nothingness, right? So, this is one of the things that you must understand. And nothingness here, I told you, please do not conflate the meaning of nothingness that we have in front of us, which comes from existential philosophy, especially of the late 19th century and the early 20th century. Okay, it all starts with people like Soren Kierkegaard, about whom we'll talk in a small bit of detail later, not now. Soren Kierkegaard was one of those people who believed in existentialism, but his existentialism is different from the existentialism that followed with people like, I'll put that here, the existentialism that followed with people like Martin Heidegger. Though he's a phenomenologist, I'm still putting him here because if it wasn't for Heidegger, existentialism wouldn't have evolved the way it did. Okay, but technically speaking, Heidegger is not an existentialist, he is a phenomenologist. Okay, and the people who really talked about existentialism in the 20th century are Jean Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, and these two are Frenchmen. And this last name, uh, Franz Kafka, okay, he is somebody uh, who is a German, but also most definitely an existentialist. Okay, and these people leave Heidegger out of it. Actually, I shouldn't have put Heidegger. I just put him there. Uh, let's get rid of. But this might get rid of the whole thing. So just let's get rid of Heidegger for the time being. Okay, so these are the people who believed in existentialism, which says that life is a nothingness. Okay, so they are, this idea of nothingness is aimed at the philosophies, or the philosophy, if you want, of both Kant and Hegel. Okay, now Kant is a moral philosopher, Hegel is a teleological philosopher. I'll talk about teleology when we start doing Aristotle. Aristotle is one of the best examples that you can think of as is one of the best examples that you can think of uh, for a teleologist. The next best example is Hegel in the modern period. Okay, so this is not the nothingness that is being talked about by Anaximander, because if you look at Sartre's writings, Sartre has written uh, both philosophical tracts, and he has also written uh, fiction, both of which uh, convey his idea of existential nothingness. Okay, so for the sake of simplicity, I will not talk about his rather verbose and dense book, which is called Being and Nothingness. Okay, be written with a capital B, Being and Nothingness. I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm going to give you an example from uh, this book that he wrote as a part of a trilogy. It is the first book. It's called The Age of Reason. Okay, and in The Age of Reason, you see that Sartre is describing the philosophical difficulties that the main protagonist of the book has, whose name is Matthew Delarue. And the story is, I'll put it in two sentences. He gets his girlfriend pregnant, they're not married. And so the question is, do we get rid of the baby or don't we get rid of the baby? Okay. Uh, so that becomes a moral dilemma. whatever it is, the end of the book is the realization on the part of Matthew Delarue that all systems of morality are human inventions. There is nothing to them. They are devoid of any deep, meaningful content. That is basically what is the conclusion that Matthew Delarue comes to. Okay? And there is no purpose to this world. There is no purpose to our existence. Every purpose that has been cited, every purpose that has been posited as a purpose by philosophers, and specifically Hegel, and also the idea that morality is a categorical imperative which Kant talked about. He says all these are completely meaningless categories. There is a nothingness to our existence, which means that there is no deep meaning, there's no hidden meaning, none of those things. Okay, so ideas of sin, all these, he says, are just human um inventions to have some kind of order in society. So for him, Matthew Delarue's realization that human life is a nothingness with no purpose, with none of the things that people have talked about, is his coming of age of reason. Okay, that means he has finally understood that there is nothing to this world that we are living in. We make up all the meanings, we make up all the things. So that is a nothingness, which is very, very different from this nothingness. This nothingness has to be understood as, in modern terms, now people have begun translating. The literal translation uh, was nothingness, but you see that if you look at it, you find that uh, he is talking about space, okay, which means the earth, sorry, is a cylinder that is spinning on its own axis and not falling down because of the force that it is generating while spinning. And that is a thing that we all, I don't know, you're a different generation, so you probably never played with the things that we played. We used to play with tops, TOPS. You know that? You tie a string and then you let go. Uh, and you'll see that the top is spinning on a lead thing, actually, a wooden top, and it's spinning on that lead bottom. And as long as it is maintaining a certain speed of spinning, it keeps spinning. As it slows down, then it tumbles. Okay, then it tumbles as it slows down. So that is what you have to remember. Okay, you have to remember that that is the kind of thing that uh, Anaximander is talking about. But he doesn't believe that the earth slows down. He believes that the earth spins at a constant speed, and therefore remains suspended in nothingness. That is what has been translated now into space. Okay, but you must understand that this translation doesn't make things easy for us. Okay, this new translation rather, because there are other things associated with nothingness in Anaximander. Okay, what he's talking about when he talks about nothingness is that he is looking at the earth as a specifically, um, what should we say? Uh, he's looking at the earth as specifically an isolated object in space. Okay, he does, or in nothingness. Let me use that word. Okay, and he doesn't try to explain to us about other astral bodies, the sun, the star. None of these things are really explained when he talks about nothingness. It's fine. The earth is a cylinder spinning on its axis. It's in nothingness. But you can see the stars, you can see the sun. He doesn't correlate day and night to the sun, by the way. So, which is what makes his nothingness extremely interesting. It makes it very, very interesting because he's not correlating it directly to the sun. Okay, he believes that you have light all over the earth, which is not what we believe today. One side of the earth has light, the other side has darkness. He's not talking about that kind of a thing. For him, it is just the opposites, day and night. Okay, so he doesn't make any strong, overt connection between the sun and the earth and between the other astral bodies. Specifically, let's talk about the stars, because you can see the starry sky. And I'm sure with so much less pollution in ancient Greece, they saw the stars much better than we did or we do today. So, but he doesn't make any connection with those. So that nothingness has remained an enigma. Okay, you understand what an enigma is? Anybody? What is an enigma? Nobody?
Something which is difficult to say or understand.
Yeah, it is actually some kind of a riddle without an answer. That's what an enigma would be. Some kind of a riddle without an answer. So even today, people are feverishly working away at trying to understand. There are scholars of Greek philosophy, a number of them, and they are still trying to understand what is this nothingness that Anaximander was talking about. Okay, now if you remember, so for the moment, take nothingness as space. Don't take nothingness as what these people are saying, what Jean Paul Sartre, uh, Albert Camus, Franz Kafka, all of them say that there is no point to our existence. That is not definitely not the nothingness. And the idea that it is space is only applicable to a very, very limited extent. It is not something that is can be, fully taken as our modern conception of space. Can somebody explain me what is there? There isn't one modern conception of space. Can somebody tell me what are the different conceptions of space? Anyone? Anyone has? Did you? You don't have to. Uh, you don't have to be taught about that. You can, if you think about it, you'll get them yourself, right? Did anyone sit and think what is space? Hmm? No? No answer? You're all on strike. We refuse to answer your nonsensical questions. Please don't, not only are you teaching us rubbish, you are also asking us questions on the rubbish. Hmm? Is that it? Okay. So, since none of you want to answer that, let me attempt. One idea of space is the
Kepler,
sorry.
Kepler orbital space, I think so, sir. There are many scientists who said about space,
You're
but
talking about Kepler,
yeah, yeah,
Kepler.
of course.
What did he say?
Uh, Something.
He said it's not the orbit of space. He said
Uh,
that the Earth is orbiting around the sun in space. That's what he said.
okay.
He propounded, along with Copernicus and Galileo,
Yeah.
he propounded the theory of the heliocentric universe. Okay, Helios again comes from Greek. Helios is the sun. So this, if the sun is the center of the universe, then you say it's a heliocentric universe. The Bible actually said it is a geocentric universe, and the geocentric theory is wrong. And till date, the Bible continues to say that the Earth is the center of the universe. Geos or geo, uh, not JIO, please. Um, that geos or geo actually means the Earth. So when you study the Earth, it's geography. When you study the innards of the Earth, then that is geology. So I'm actually reminded of a funny statement that was made by Madhuri Dixit when she was at the peak of her career. Somebody asked her if she knew about Nepal, and she said yes. She said, "What is Nepal?" She said, "It is one of the states of India." So somebody said, "No, ma'am, it's not a state of India, it's an independent country." She said, "Listen, you'll have to excuse me because I'm not a student of geology." That's what she said. So I suppose you'll have to go below the tectonic and the magmatic plates of the earth in order to find out that, according to Madhuri Dixit at least, that the earth, I'm sorry, that Nepal is not a part of India. Hmm. Anyway, I thought that was a political boundary, not a geographical boundary. Nevertheless, nobody finds my jokes funny. Which I don't know, which means I'm probably somewhere in the evolution. I'm stuck with the great apes. Maybe I'm a bonobo or a gorilla with human features. But my rest of the mental development seems to be stuck at that level. So nobody laughs at my jokes. So I should stop joking. But being a primitive kind of a person, I can't stop making these stupid jokes. Anyway, so space, when one way of looking at it is, yes, Kepler and all talked about it as space. Um, there are two ways of looking about. Who was it who answered that question? Because I didn't see any mics unmute here. Who answered that question? Ma'am, can you tell me your name?
Which question, sir?
You told me the answer, no? Kepler?
Yes, sir, I'm Rachna.
You are?
Rachana.
Rachana.
Hmm.
Okay, Rachana. All right. No, because none of the mics unmuted, the ones that I could see. So I was just
Yeah.
wondering. Yeah. Just trying to get to know you. Don't get
Okay.
alarmed.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a horrible man-eating kind of a person. Okay. I'm not a cannibal. Um Now, so one conception of space is that which is called the absolute conception. This is one conception, which means there is a thing called space. Okay? There is a thing called space in which various things exist. The sun exists, the earth exists, the other planets of our galaxy exist. All these things, uh, 1 minute, she's gone. All these things have, what should I say? All these things exist in this absoluteness called space. Okay, now there's a problem with this thing called space if you look at it like this. If you look at the absolute conception,
So
then
why
you'll,
can't say okay?
sorry,
Why can't say it is a universe?
why can't we say it's the universe?
Hmm. Yeah.
Universe is not just space, no? There are all these astral bodies, right? There are so many galaxies. We are just one small galaxy, the Milky Way.
Okay.
There are so many galaxies.
Hmm.
So
Mean.
it's not. How can you say that it is? How can you ignore all these things?
Okay.
You can't ignore all these things.
Okay.
You,
Okay. I mean, what's my question is the difference between space and universe.
space and universe. See, the universe is bigger than anything in any conception. I'm sure you have come across this particular idea.
Yeah, but
No, I'm typing it
scroll
up.
down.
Hmm. Have you come across this anywhere? The one that I just typed. The whole
Yes, sir.
is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, that is what, sorry, that is what the universe is. Okay?
Mm, okay, sir.
Yeah. And those who believe in the universe, I don't know if you were there in that class where I talked to you about the cosmos and chaos. Were you there?
No, I think, sir.
That
When?
that is one of the earliest classes.
Okay.
The I've differentiated between the cosmos and the chaos. The two ways of looking at the universe, the cosmos and the chaos. Incidentally, all these record lectures I'm recording and putting them on YouTube. If you feel like it, you can go back and refer. But since you raised that question, let me quickly and briefly answer this question. Okay, if you believe
Okay.
that the universe is a universe, what is a universe? A single verse. What is a verse? Something that you write in poetry, okay, or a lyric. A lyric usually has a verse and a chorus,
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
Now, when you basically talk about a universe,
Hmm.
then you're saying that there is only one verse. There aren't too many verses. There aren't two verses. Okay?
Hmm.
There aren't two universes. I mean, sorry, two verses. So it's just one verse. So the one verse is, I'll get into this thing of it when I go to the Christian thinkers. They have this thing that all manyness that you see around you come out of a oneness, and into that oneness they return. That is why it is called universe. We have a similar this thing in the cosmologies which are ancient, most definitely the Indian cosmology. It believes that the cosmos has a purpose. It's purposive. You and I may not be aware of it immediately. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have a purpose, right? So that is what you have to understand. It is purposive, and everything that happens in the universe happens for a reason. If I'm your teacher today, okay, and you're my student listening to this, whatever I'm teaching, then there is a meaning behind it. You were supposed to become my student. That is the purposiveness. Okay. And I was supposed to become your teacher. Not just me, all other teachers as well. Right? That's what it talks about. Now, if you talk about a chaos, please don't read it as accidents. You shouldn't read chaos as accidents. Sorry, as a confusion. You should see it as a series of accidents. Okay, which means things are happening arbitrarily. There is no reason why, there is no hidden meaning, there is nothing, which is what the nothingness of Kafka, Sartre, and Camus tells us. Okay, that it is just a nothingness. All right. So they are talking about everything in life being a series of accidents. They were not meant to happen, but they have happened. That's what we say about what do we mean when you say I had an accident? Okay, if I got hit by a vehicle and that vehicle is very badly damaged, okay, then I'll say, listen, I'm not responsible for it. It is just an accident. Okay, I'm sorry your vehicle had to come and hit me and get completely damaged and probably written off. Okay, but I'm not responsible for it because it's an accident. It wasn't meant to happen. But if you believe in the cosmos or the cosmic theory of the universe, then you are actually believing in the idea that even the so-called accidents happen for a reason. Even the so-called uh, accidents happen for a reason. You might not know it. So the poor fellow who hit me and his vehicle got written off or totaled, as the Americans like to call it. Okay, that fellow, it was meant to happen to him. So that's why it happened. He came and hit me and is finished. His car is totaled. So that's uh, a cosmos. It was supposed to happen, so it happened. Chaos, nothing was supposed to happen. Things happen, you don't know why they happen. They happen because they are just a series of accidents. There are no hidden meanings, no hidden purposes that we need to search for. Whereas philosophy believes in universe and it tries to search for the purpose. That is what is actually uh, one form of knowledge, which is, I told you, epistemology. It believes in the pursuit of knowledge. You think you should have knowledge. And if you ask why should we have knowledge, then that is an illegitimate question. What do you mean, why should we have knowledge? We should have knowledge. Okay? Then this other thing is a little more complicated. Ontology. I'll not talk about this now. I have talked about it in one of the classes. This is the pursuit of being. Very shortly, when we move out of the Milesian school and into the Elian school, I'll talk about ontology. Okay, I've already done, but again, I'll talk about it later when we're doing Zeno of Elia, because he's also considered to be an ontological thinker. Okay, so ontology, and Heidegger is an ontologist, by the way. Okay, and Heidegger believed that um, we have to find out why we are born. Heidegger talks about our birth being like, uh, 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 he compares it to being like you've been thrown in to something. Okay, he says you've been thrown into a forest. That's how he characterizes our birth. And if you look up, you can't see anything. It's a dense forest, not Indian forests. He's not talking about Indian forests. There's very little of them left. Uh, he's looking at a dense forest. You look up, you see foliage. You can't see anything above. Look around you, all you see is trees and plants and leaves. So you don't know where you are. You don't know why you've been thrown there. Now you have to make sense of your life. That is the ontology that Heidegger is talking about. Being, as in the state of existence that we are in. Trying to understand why we are in this state of existence. That is ontology. Trying to understand that. Epistemology will pursue knowledge. And epistemology will always say, will always believe, or let's not say always, will always believe, it is always leaning towards the belief that the world is a cosmos. It's leaning towards the belief that the world is a cosmos. Okay, so it basically means one thing, and that is anything in a cosmos is purposive. So the universe, when you talk about it, is not like space. Space does not have purpose. Space is something that exists. The universe existing is the purposive thing. So you cannot call space the universe because the universe is full of meanings. People have drawn different meanings. Some of them are arbitrary, most of them are not. They are all worth our attention. So that is how we talk about a cosmos and a universe. But if you're also talking about a universe as a chaos, where things are random, arbitrary, no reason behind it, okay, then you're not talking about a universe. Then you should be talking about this. The chaos believes in a multiverse. There are many accidents. That's why it's multi. It's not one accident. So why is it universe? Okay. I think it's Clifford Geertz, one of the very famous social scientists, who wrote a book called The Multiverse of Democracy. Okay. So he believes democracy is not something which is to be taken as universal. He takes it as it being multiversal. So multiverse of democracy. So that's what he did. So if you therefore apply the idea of universe to space, then you're doing injustice to the idea of universe. Space exists, Earth exists, you exist, I exist. The universe knows why. Space doesn't know. Space doesn't know. Space is one of the things. If it is an absolute conception, then you say all these astral bodies that are existing in space. Okay, in which case, if you take the absolutist conception of space, then you are going into why can't I type properly? Yeah. Um, then you are going into what we would call infinity. Space is infinity if you take the absolutist conception of space. Why is it infinity? It's a very simple question with a very simple answer, though it doesn't explain anything. But the answer is pretty straightforward. Try to imagine if you're looking at space as an absolute thing in which various galaxies and all these things exist, then what are the boundaries of space? Okay, what are the boundaries of space? If boundaries of space exist, then what exists outside the boundaries? So obviously you cannot draw a boundary. So if you say it is infinite, then what is it? Then what is it? What is space? And what is infinity? Okay, we know what is infinity, but we cannot understand it. Has anyone seen this movie called Event Horizon? Anyone? It's a Hollywood blockbuster. Nobody's seen it? Well, um, this particular movie deals with the idea of space being ultimately something which is circular, not linear. Linear is a line. Okay, so there is a spaceship that disappears, and after several decades, it comes back. So the movie is based in science fiction. Isaac Asimov would have been very proud of that movie, or even Arthur C. Clarke would have been proud of that movie, uh, because it talks about this thing having gone round and come back. So there, you say space is warped like this. It's not straight. But still you don't get the answer. If it is warped, what is on the other side of the warp? Okay, you don't get an answer for that. So you have to leave it at infinity. There's yet another movie, I think I talked to you about it, The Planet of the Apes. The Planet of the Apes, that was made in 1968 or something like that. When the US started sending missions to the moon. Okay, not these new Planet of the Apes movies, which are shown every day on all English movie channels that you get on cable. Okay, you get to see these same movies every day. You know, I got so sick of it that I bought myself an Amazon Fire Stick, and I started seeing movies on Amazon and on Netflix. And then I thought, let me go back to cable and try to see what movies they are showing. After 2 or 3 months, I went back and they were still showing the same movies. Planet of the Apes was still showing the new one, not one of the old, not the old one. Uh, so anyway, so what do you see in this old movie? Now, in that Charlton Heston, who played all those roles like NTR did in our own mythologies, except unlike NTR, Charlton Heston was an extremely handsome man. He didn't have a huge paunch and all that. And so Charlton Heston was there in Ben-Hur, he was there in Ten Commandments, he was there in Colossal Kovadi, he was there in Samson and Delilah, all the biblical stories. He was a hero, but he played a different kind of a role here, in which he's a leader of a space mission. And they go into space and they crash onto a planet in space. And what is very interesting is that they'll crash land onto a planet of apes. Okay, their spacecraft, and then they are held prisoners. Charlton Heston somehow manages to escape. This is towards the end. And when he goes behind a small hillock, not a small hillock, fairly big hillock, he goes behind to see that there is some water, like sea, SEAC, and there is a beach. And in the beach, he finds the Statue of Liberty buried till its neck. The Statue of Liberty is buried till its neck. So he goes back to that apes and he asks, how long have we been out? Because they think they have been out for some 5 years or 10 years or something. And then they are told that they have been out for more than 400 or 500 years. And evolution has begun again with the apes. So that is how people look at the universe. So that's why I wouldn't use the word universe synonymously with space, because it poses all kinds of problems. Okay, so infinity is the absolute definition. Then we have a relative definition. Anybody who has an idea what the relative definition of space is? Nobody. What, Rachna? You don't have an answer?
Yes, sir. Space is a mixture of several gases, dust.
Gases.
Yeah.
But how is it relative? That again will be absolute only. Relativist is always relative to something. So relative to what?
Black hole.
No. A black hole uh, is nothing but a star that has collapsed into itself, and a black hole is full gravity. Suppose you manage to get into a black hole, you will not age even a single minute. Okay?
Okay.
That's not, and incidentally, even if we talk about the absolute definition of space, we have a problem with the Milky Way itself. Okay, with the Big Bang Theory. You know the Big Bang Theory, not the
Yes,
TV
yes.
serial. I love that TV serial, and I like the character of Sheldon. Uh, he's amazing. He's just amazing. But if you look at the Big Bang Theory, it says that the sun exploded and the fragments went into space and they cooled down to become
Planets.
planets,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, there is a problem here. The problem is people have calculated how are these planets managing to remain in orbit, which means that the sun's gravity and the planet's gravity should be perfectly co-equivalent. If the sun's gravity is more, then it'll draw the planet back into itself. If the sun's
Mm.
gravity is more,
Yes.
it'll go back, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
If the planet's gravity is more, then it should drift away.
Mm.
Why are they orbiting in the same thing? It's a question that physics hasn't answered. String theory is trying, so many other theories are trying. They talk about black matter. They say if you look at the sky through a telescope, they say that between the planets there is a blackness, which they say is matter, okay, which is material. It's not emptiness. And somehow, this is alchemy, okay, because it's not proved. Somehow that black matter in conjunction with the gravity of the sun and the gravity of the planets is holding the whole thing in position, and this things are going round without collapsing back into the sun or drifting away into space. So no, that is not the one. The relative thing is what we use in a commonsensical way almost every day. Uh, let me ask. I found him coming online. So where's my good friend? Okay, I can see Padma Navanand. So let me ask her. Uh, Padma Navanand, I have a
Yes, sir.
I have a 10 by 6 feet sofa. Can I gift it to you?
Sorry, sir. What is it?
I have a 10 feet by 6 feet sofa. Can I gift it to you? Will you take it?
10 by 6 feet.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It
And
is.
I think I will not.
You will not. Why?
Because of the space, because of its height.
So, what is the problem with it?
The space that it takes to place it on the.
So, let it take space. Why? What if it takes up space? Come on.
It's about the aesthetics also. It looks odd if it's that big.
Okay. But do you have space in your house to put it?
Yeah, that's what. There's no space, so I would not like to take it in my house.
Ah, so that's what I'm asking you. Do you have space to put it?
No.
You don't. That is the relative conception. Okay. The relative conception is the openness or sometimes emptiness between things. So if we talk about I don't have space to put something. We are saying that in the, how many walls do we have? 4 walls. No, we have 6 walls in a room. I mean, including the floor and the ceiling, right? So we have 4 walls, the ceiling, and the floor. In between that, if you take everything out, what you have is openness or emptiness. That is space. But that is not infinite space. It's finite space because there is a limit to what you can put in that kind of a space, right? You can't put anything and everything. For example, if I don't, you know, my first floor is empty. My parents used to live there, and my father passed away a couple of years ago, not yet a couple of years. And then my mother she didn't want to come up. She wanted to continue living there. So I said, no, you better come up. She wouldn't listen to me. And during the lockdown, she fell and broke her shoulder, uh, dislocated it. And the doctor said, this needs surgery, but we are not able to carry out the surgery. And therefore, what we'll do is we'll put her on a mild anesthetic, put the uh, ball back in the socket, and immobilize her arm for 6 months. So I said, okay. So she had to come up. Now, I was scared that she'll again want to go back once she gets um, better. So I gave away everything that we had. I gave away everything that we had. And have an empty space there. Okay, because there's no furniture, nothing. They're just empty rooms. There's a great song called Empty Rooms by Gary Moore. If any of you listen to rock music, please listen to it. Great song. Okay. Uh, so I have empty rooms with which I'm doing something now. And anyway, so the space between these walls, ceiling, and floor is relatives. So you'll say, well, this is not to show off or anything. Not that it's a thing to show off. The actor Nagarjuna and Amala are our friends. And when they built their new house, I went there and I found their living room was so big, and it had rocks. It actually had rocks in it, and those rocks were left as they were. And in between all that, they put sofas and all that kind of thing. And the space there was huge. And so Amala is a very nice person, not to say Nagarjuna is not. She asked me, so how do you like our new house? I said, I don't know. Sitting here is making me feel like I'm sitting on a sofa in the Serengeti. You know the Serengeti, right? Anyone? Nobody has heard of Serengeti? Nobody heard of this? Ah, this is the savanna-like land in Africa, the dwelling of most of African wildlife is in the Serengeti. It's in the sub-Saharan Africa. It's an open land. It's not a forest. That's why I said it's like a savanna. It's an open land, and I felt somebody had put 2 or 3 sofas in that. It was that big, their house, that at least their living room or drawing room. My house, on the other hand, can barely accommodate 5 people. So that is the relative emptiness between things, whatever they may be. All right. So when we talk about space, all these things come which don't come into the usage of the universe. They don't come into this other usage, which is universe, right? So please be, uh, please don't, not please be, please don't say that space and the universe are the same. No, universe includes us also. Go to one of my first lectures that I posted. I think it's dated 6th or whichever, 6th or 7th. If you go Rachna, if you go to those lectures on YouTube, just type A.V. Satish Chandra. It'll take you
Okay.
there. I have explained the concept of the Brahman, the Atman, and how you have Advaita, Visishta Advaita, and Dvaita, and all those things. Okay, that also is a theory of the universe, by the way, right? In which there is no mention of space. All right. So what we are looking at, therefore, to get back to good old Anaximander, is that Anaximander leaves us with a certain kind of a riddle about what he means with when he uses the word nothingness. Okay, what exactly is he saying? What exactly is this nothingness? Is he taking into consideration um the astral bodies, or is he not taking into consideration these astral bodies? We don't know. So, to come back to the topic, okay, and therefore, that nothingness is best understood as some kind of space. Don't try to define it, because if you try to define it, you may end up with a wrong definition. So sometimes when nothing fits into a category, it is best left alone. You know, we are all actually so taken up with taxonomy. Hmm? What is taxonomy? Anyone? How do you understand taxonomy? Come on, this I can't believe. I think you people don't want to cooperate.
It's naming and classifying organisms.
Not necessarily our organisms.
All plants or animals, all thinking.
Naming, labeling, categorizing, phylum, species, all those things are what? Taxonomy, no?
Yes,
Yeah. So you have taxonomy not just in biology, you have taxonomy in geography, right? When you say Himalaya mountains are fold mountains, that's a taxonomy.
right.
And, okay, so we are somehow driven towards taxonomy. So I shouldn't advertise this like this, but I think I already did. Did I? I didn't. No. I wrote an an essay uh, on how a number of things about India do not fit into categories of description. When you have to describe India, we normally take recourse to categories that are either very Western, or sometimes we go back and we have this unnecessary pride in our past. So we have this glorious past and all that kind of thing. And with that, what do? We come up with this particular thing that India is this, this, and this. And very often, for every instance that you show to say this is this, you also can show two or three counter instances to say this is not this is not that, this is something else. Okay, so you get counter instances. So that is one of the problems of inductive reasoning. We'll talk about that when we come to Plato and Aristotle. Inductive and deductive reasoning, right? So when you try to fit Indian history into categories, okay, which are either now useless because of the break with the past, or they are useless because they have never taken root here. If you do that, if you try to fit into it, all you're doing is uh, creating a difficulty for yourself. If anyone is more interested in this, you can search for me on academia.edu. academia.edu. Uh, actually type usmania.academia.edu and search for A.V. Satish Chandra. You'll get my writing, my articles there. You'll find one, the complexities. I've forgotten the title. I wrote such a long title that I have forgotten it myself. The complexities associated with it goes on like that. Read that essay if you have the time, the inclination. Okay. So we always like taxonomies. So if we keep on trying to indulge in taxonomical exercises, we then compromise on several things. And there is no form of knowledge except perhaps medicine and something like engineering, which requires very strict taxonomies. Okay, medicine, I do know, requires strict taxonomies, but they also do inter taxonomical studies. Uh, engineering requires not computer engineering, that's not engineering at all. Okay, if you build a website or something and it crashes, then you can do what Google does, put a message, oops, something has gone wrong. Just imagine building the Burj Khalifa, which is almost a kilometer high, and you didn't get your calculations right. And so the Burj Khalifa comes down. You can't put a board there. Oops, something went wrong. Can you? So those are hardcore engineering disciplines, which require a lot more than this stupid computer science requires. Okay, anybody can do computer science, believe me. All you need to know is how to write code, and for that you need to know what is algorithm. That's all is required. Anyway, why am I getting into that? So to come back to Anaximander, sometimes it is okay, it is absolutely all right to leave things undefined. And that is what applies to his nothingness. Because otherwise we'll end up tying ourselves into knots and not getting to the point that we need to make. That is the thing. That is the reason why I'm saying you have to look at nothingness as a partially defined thing, which is space. And that too, space in probably, don't define it again, but for our, in just between you and me, it is probably infinity. He doesn't mean a relative definition of space. So that is one thing. Now, let me finish Anaximander now. Anaximander also was taken up with another particular idea. And that particular idea is the tendency of things to fall. Okay? Anaximander was obsessed with this idea. He was trying to make sense of whatever I hold, as long as I'm holding it, it doesn't fall. But the moment I let go of it, it falls. But I don't fall. Okay, I'm able to walk. I don't fall. Then why do things fall? So he thought, since human beings don't fall unless somebody is holding them, unless somebody is holding them, it is not the case. So he located the tendency to fall in the things that fall. So he said, this tendency to fall is located. As long as we are resting things on something, or we are holding them up, they don't fall. But the moment I take them off a place of rest and I stop holding it, it falls. So the table doesn't fall. I don't fall. So what is the thing that falls? If I'm holding this mouse, it falls. If I'm holding this phone, it if I let go, it falls. If I let go of this sanitizer, it falls. So he said the tendency of things to fall, he talked about it and located it in these different things. And he was trying to investigate, why do things have a tendency to fall? Okay. I just typed it in half because I'm running out of time. Tendency of things to fall. Why do they have it? This was what he was working on. And unfortunately, before he could find an answer, he found the way out of this world. All right. So basically, then, that remained a question which was not answered for centuries. This question was answered by Newton's theory of gravity, where Newton did not locate the tendency of things to fall in the object, but he located it in the Earth's gravitational power. That's what Newton did. Now, I'm sure you remember the literally cock and bull story. Newton sat under a tree and apple fell on his head. And Newton basically said, why did this apple fall down? Why didn't it go up? And lo and behold, he came up with the theory of gravity. Okay, this is what we are told. At least we were told in school. The apple story is universal, I think, but it is completely apocryphal. Apocryphal as in dubious, doubtful, because much before Newton, Galileo was working on this very thing, the tendency of things to fall. That is what I'll pick up tomorrow. And because Yasmin is posting 10:40, you have to come. Then she'll shout at me, you always delay my class. So I'm not going to get shouted at. Sorry. So we'll stop here. We'll begin with that thing tomorrow and how it led to the theory of gravity. And please, uh, I've asked some of you, please, I have a project that I am doing. If you, it's not a project which needs you to do any work, it needs me to do the work. But if you're interested, please write to me on WhatsApp with your numbers. Okay. Where is
Yes,
my,
sir.
yeah, this is open not just to Padma, not just to, where is my friend? What's his name? I've forgotten. Quickly, quickly, quickly. I saw him enter, but my friend from Hanmakonda, I've forgotten your name.
Akshay Puneet.
Akshay. Akshay. Akshay Puneet. Akshay, please, will you write to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And anyone else who's interested, please write to me. Anyone else who's interested.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. You
Okay,
can decide whether you want to be a part of it or not. Nothing is compulsory. I just want to share something with you. All right. Thank you very much.
Sir, also as the time is up now, can we talk to you tomorrow regarding the exam, syllabus stuff and all? We have some doubts.
All right. We'll talk tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, yes, sir.
thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.